it's Maria here from hockeytrainingpro.com and goalietrainingpro.com. And I've been getting, like not a lot, but enough emails from goalies who are having a little bit of lateral knee pain. And some of them describe it as like my IT band is sore. Some are like, oh, my lateral collateral ligament is strained, even though they didn't do anything to it. So that seems a little bit weird. And I'm somewhat suspicious that it isn't coming from a reverse VH, so this really awkward kind of position, and it could be IT band related, but I think in terms of that reverse VH, it could also be fibular head irritation. So one thing that you can kind of look at, and it's a little bit hard to do on yourself, you know, it's something that you would get maybe your team trainer to look at, but are your fibular heads kind of sitting even side to side? So your fibula is this little bone that sits on the outside of your tibia, which is your big shin bone. And right up here, you can see here my hamstrings, my lateral hamstrings come in and they attach to it. So right in there is my fibular head. So my thumb is right on it there. So sometimes this can get moved back and forth a little bit because it's just, you know, it's just a connective tissue that holds it in place, and so it will kind of jam. And in particular, in that reverse VH position, it's really getting torqued. So you know, you would have your team trainer look and see, are your fibular heads kind of sitting even? Is one stuck way back or way forward? And then, you know, they can help do some mobilizations on it to sort of help it get back to where it should be. So that's one thing that's a little bit more advanced. You need your team trainer to look at. But in terms of other things, and if it is some IT band irritation, these are the things that I'd like you to work on. Now, your IT band is going to be tight. It's supposed to be tight. It's a connective tissue band, like that's its job. But it has also a very broad muscle at the top called the tensor fasciae lata. And so sometimes if we're not using our glutes the way we should, or we're not using our hip flexors as well as we could, we start using this tensor fasciae lata, or TFL, to do all sorts of things that it's not really meant to do. Its job is to tension this IT band and give us some support, but it can flex our hip and abduct and externally rotate and do all kinds of things. So we're going to start off there, and we're going to work with our lacrosse ball, getting in sort of on the borders of that. So sort of up toward the top of your hip bone. So here's kind of the top of my pelvis, and I'm getting in this area. I'm not on my hip flexor. I'm sort of to the side a little bit. So working in there, and I'm working along from the front towards the back. So working from the front here to the back, sort of in this range, staying off my hip bone, which is right out here, because that's going to be uncomfortable. I get above my hip bone. So working on that, up and down, side to side, just working the tissue around there. Then the next thing that I want to do, so that's tissue quality. The next thing I want to do is try to teach my muscles that abduct my hip and extend my hip to work, as opposed to bringing in these muscles of the TFL, or the TFL to help do that. So I'm going to get my mini band and put that at my ankles and then stand up. And what I'm going to do here is keep one hand kind of along this position, so toward the front of my hip and just under the lip of my pelvis, and then my other hand is going to be here, just sort of on my outside of my bum cheek, and I'm going to abduct my foot, so come out to the side, trying to feel this turn on, but not this, or maximize this and minimize what I'm feeling in these fingers. So there, I'm getting some activation here, but still quite a bit of activation here. So I'm going to think a little bit about squeezing here first, and then abducting. See how my toe is pointed in. If I were to point my toe out, it would be a lot up in here. Then I'm going to come into extension and do the same thing. And this is actually a little bit easier to get the extension here without activation here. But still, if I go too far, I'm going to feel these start to tighten up. So it's not hard exercise. I'm not trying to use a lot of force. I'm just trying to get the proper muscles firing in the proper sequence. And then we'll go back kind of to clamshell exercise. So this isn't new, we've done it lots of times, but feet together in line with my bum and my back. I'm just lifting that top knee, and usually we hold it for a couple seconds and then come back down. But what I want you to do is pay attention to where you're feeling it. If you're feeling it a little more out here, you probably are using your tensor fasciae lata to do that action. And so you need to work on some of the exercises, like with the mini band, trying to get this to fire rather than relying on that. If you're feeling it back in here, then you're probably firing your hip pretty well, and maybe that soft tissue work will be more helpful, or again, even checking the position of your fibular head. So those are some ideas for people who are getting a little bit of lateral knee pain, kind of for no reason. There wasn't an injury or anything that happened to you. I do think that reverse VH is really hard on that area, so I'm always suspicious of it. But try those. See if it makes it feel better, great. If it doesn't make it feel better, then make sure you follow up with your sport physio or whoever you go to look after those musculoskeletal types of injuries. This is Maria from hockeytrainingpro.com and goalietrainingpro.com. I hope that helps, some ideas to look after your IT band, your lateral knee pain. Cheers.